Hi, I'm Robin Schultz with the Hoover channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll always know when we have a new video coming up.
There's a new maintenance request, number 11 this year, and that is for a new server for the, all the cameras that serve the traffic signals, so that you can see what's going on with traffic in our traffic maintenance center and make real-time adjustments. And then 12, our last maintenance item, is $50,000 for signage maintenance. All right, so the next ask I just mentioned at the beginning, which is the $1 million to set aside for Big Valley Dale. The next item, number 14, that's Green Valley Drainage Improvements Project. In fiscal year 25, the design of this project was funded, and so we have a design in place, ready to go for this project. This project was a project that was identified in the Shoals study after the October 2021 flood. So what this does is this implements the recommendations from that study post-flood, and this is for the construction cost. One of the things I'd like to point out is there's a few items that are kind of grayed out underneath these bold numbers, and what those are is sub-breakouts of the ask. There's $1 million for phase one, which is the downstream end of that project at Napier. That's $1 million. And phase two is continuing up Paulette Drive and Charlotte Drive. That's $1.25 million. And below you see right-of-way, temporary construction easement, construction engineering and inspection, and then the construction. So those kind of half-tone light gray, that's the breakdown of those two bold numbers above. But the total cost for phase one and two of that project is $2.42 million. Next on our list, number 15, is at the Hoover Met. And so the reason this ask is in engineering is it's for the pavement. In the lower parking lot is a priority. And so we're gonna need to be doing patching, some leveling up, and the pavement's in pretty bad condition. There's also some storm drainage, some inlets that need to be fixed. We'll go back with a wearing surface and striping. And one thing to note on that top line there, it says 22 new lights. That bottom parking lot at the Met is not lit at this time. So it's gonna be putting up lights, there'll be cameras, and there'll also be receptacles on those light poles. So that whole ask, that's broken down, like I mentioned, in the grayed out is each little part of the ask, but that's $1.798 million. Next, number 16 is a sidewalk project, and this is really exciting. This is the Lock Haven Park improvement. This is a TAP project, and we set aside the money to do the engineering and design and the construction engineering and inspection on this project. But we found out in the last week that we were awarded a grant which will cover the construction cost. And so that's going to be funded through the MPO portion of the TAP funds. And so this is at Lock Haven Park. And also we budgeted $100,000 last year for the Lock Haven bridges. So there's already $100,000 in our budget from last year. But it's exciting. We'll get to spend a little and get big benefits from that grant. Next is Rossbridge Parkway at Melton Road, a sidewalk extension. That's about 650 feet. We've recently done some sidewalk work in that area. This will connect the tunnel to go extend to near the daycare. That's what this asks, and this is $162,500 for construction. Next is a roadway project, which is the Willow Lakes Drive roundabout at the South Shadescrest Elementary School. And so what this is the design and construction cost $340,000 to put in a roundabout to get people into school more efficiently. And so with that roundabout in place, it'll help traffic flow better and will eliminate the need for a crosswalk there. Excuse me, a crossing guard. Okay, next is number 17 is the Deodara Drive, the Star Lake spillway replacement. The spillway there at Star Lake is MS4 structural control. We inspect this every year. This project with the Star Lake spillway was a project that was identified in that Shoals study after the 21 flood. So what this is going to do is this project needs to be designed, but you'll drain the lake, dredge out any of the soil, sediment, things that are in there, dredge it out, redo the spillway, we'll redesign it so that it'll let the water out, and when it's completed, the lake level, the water level in the lake will be 1 foot lower, so we'll have more capacity there. And there's some things we need to do with that spillway. And also, it includes a new pedestrian bridge in this project. Next is number 18, the Howard Lake Dam, the spillway and park upgrades. Howard Lake Dam is here at City Hall, and it's an MS4 structural control we inspect every year, and there's some upgrades, some improvement that needs to be made to the spillway, and was kind of affected by the 2021 flood. But that's $600,000. The next ask is for the dam safety program development for $100,000. And the reason for that ask is there's a state program, state legislation that requires us, the city of Hoover, to have a program on dam safety. So we'll be partnering, reaching out to private partners. The legislation is kind of vague, but we need to develop a program. So we need to start working on that to be compliant with the law. Number 20 is the stormwater inventory and assessment phase 3. That's $150,000. What that's doing is Hoover is broken into 7 zones in this project. We've completed the first zone. Right now, last year we funded phase 2, which is going to zone 2, and we have a consultant who goes out and evaluates the condition of the storm drain there. Also, we've seen them being out there and picking up structures that are not in GIS, but picking up the information on them so we can add them to our GIS database. 21, US 31 at Southland Drive, traffic signal upgrades. It's $325,000. 22 is a traffic signal battery backup, upgrade and replacement, $100,000, and that's phase 1 of that project. 23 is various traffic signal upgrades, traffic calming projects for $255,000. 24 is traffic signal timing, data collection, and equipment upgrades at 31-150 in Lorna for $100,000. The next one is the Heatherwood Drive sidewalk extension from Cahaba Crest Drive to Oakmont Road, and that's about 850 feet of sidewalk with a cost of $283,500. Number 26 is Stadium Trace Parkway, a sidewalk extension from Brock's Gap Village to Emory Drive West. That's about 1,900 feet for $627,000. Next, on the last page, number 27 is sidewalk, Hawkesbury sidewalk from Cloudland Drive to Maiden Lane, which is about 1,150 feet for $381,625. And then the last ask is Star Lake Drive sidewalk from Deodara to Star Lake, about 2,000 feet, $670,000. And so the total asks for capital for engineering is $14,403,305. Now, I've flown through that. Does anybody have any questions for us?
I do have a question about your operating budget.
Yes.
Do you have money in there for any kind of contractor support on inspecting new construction sites for stormwater compliance?
We do not.
Based on the conversations that you and Chris Reeves and I have had, I would have expected an ask for some additional support in that area. Tell me what you're thinking there.
We do have, in our operating budget, our MS4 consultant who gives us a lot of technical guidance and makes sure we're compliant with our MS4 program. You know, Chris and I, talked a lot about this. The folks that we have are very robust. They do multiple hats. I think it was Chief who mentioned that they've got people doing a lot of things, and right now that's working for us. But if you want to fund more people, we would be happy to put them to work, to answer
Well,
your question.
I guess if we wanted to increase the frequency of inspections,
Yes,
then you're saying we would need either personnel or contractors to do that, right?
that's right.
Okay.
And right now, what our inspection level on the sites that are over an acre that are permitted through ADEM, those are every other month. And so we do meet the requirement of ADEM.
And based on our conversation and meeting with Jefferson County about this, Jefferson County is inspecting theirs every month, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And I think they have a more robust stormwater department than we do.
Okay.
So, I mean, no offense, but they've got more staff dedicated to that.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about the sewer budget request. We are asking for an increase in our operating budget this year. One, to cover the CPI increase for the Clearwater contract per the agreement. The agreement states that their increase is based off of the CPI index and should not exceed 5%. So we're asking for an additional $75,000 to cover that cost for that contract. We're asking for an additional $250,000 for emergency line repairs and maintenance on our gravity and force mains. Here in the past, this was not a line item as far as part of the operating budget. It was always taken out of capital funding. So I feel like this is something that we need to have inside our operating budget so that we can cover the cost of those repairs that when they do come up. This year, we actually had a few that came up that we actually had to pull capital funding to cover the cost for those repairs on the lines there without killing operating budgets. So with this line item here, it gives us the flexibility to utilize these funds without having to tap into our capital funding to make those repairs, bringing that total to $325,000 for operating budgets for the year, fiscal year 2026. Capital improvement projects, more than $50,000. I know you're probably saying you just gave me $6.1 million under sewer funding. And we are utilizing that money. We've actually replaced, we've got 5 new pumps in already, up and operational. The backup dry pump units are up and installed. Our first project is already out to bid. Pre-bid was last week. Closing is first the October's for River Chase number 1 project. River Chase number 1 project is actually advertising. It's going through the pre-bid process now. We should have those up and in construction here probably by the 1st of November sometime, once the bids come in. We do have the generator project that is still out with the engineers. We were able to downsize the generator at the River Chase plant and actually change from gas a gas generator at the Inverness plant to a diesel operated to actually save costs in that budget request there. So we're actually saving a little money on that side. The engineer's now just in the process of designing that funding. We may have a little funding left over from that, just depending on where our bids come in at. The River Chase number 6 project for phase 1 actually came in way under what we were expecting, so we may have a cost savings there. River Chase number number six project came in under budget. Number one project actually came in right on budget, just depending on where that comes in up on the contract there. But we do still have needs. Sewer is, it's infrastructure that has been functioning for years. We haven't put the dollars in needed to keep that system maintained. So we do have some requests that do need to be repaired. This system runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doesn't stop. The pumps cut off, we got sewer on the ground, and that's a problem. So the first capital request that I'm asking for is an additional $800,000 to cover the replacement of those pumps in our collection systems and also equipment at our treatment plants to help treat the sewage there is. Once again, like I said, the last major upgrades at each plant was done in the early 2000s. So this equipment has served its time in the system. So with that being said, the additional $800,000 will help us replace some of those dated pumps and give us some pumps that would actually give us another 15 to 20 years, give or take, depending on the maintenance of those in our system there. The next ask, if you keep following, is the pump station replacement at Building 104 in the Inverness Basin. This request has been on our capital improvement request list for some time now. This system is River Chase number 4 and Sarah number 1 are can stations. Give you an understanding of what a can station is that all the components, the pumps, everything is in the ground. You're looking at the electrical components and everything is 15 to 20 foot deep, just depending on the can station. I think these two can stations, the average depth on them is 15 foot, meaning our guys going down in the hole, checking on this here system to make sure that it's functional. What these upgrades would do is bring the station out of the ground, get all the electrical components out of the ground, prevent from damages, and get us up to the new current codes and keep our system functioning properly. There's a total of 4 can station remaining on the system, which will be building number 104, Sarah 1, Sarah 2, and Curt Wall. These are all in the Inverness communities. They were put in back in the early 60s, so they lasted their time. They made their life expectancy. So with these here upgrades, we keep the system functioning well in these communities to keep us from having any raw sewage on the ground. The engineering work has already been done. Plans and specs are complete. We're just asking for the funding to build the project. That includes the construction costs and the construction engineering inspection services for those, totaling $850,000 for a piece for them. The big ticket item this year will be the headworks and grit system in our River Chase plant. Headworks is the key component to the wastewater treatment plant. This is where everything is filtering into the system. So it's catching all the rags, it's catching all the grit, the sand, and anything that's passing through our collection system before it's actually being treated. The last upgrade for this here system was done right about 16 and a half years ago, due just to the nature of the beast, the weather, the element, and the gases that's presented in our wastewater treatment facilities. Products is being deteriorated, and we're now having to go in there and manually replace these here equipments. Well, what's happening is a lot of this here equipment has become end of life and it's obsolete, so parts are hard to come by. So with this here $3.5 million ask, we're asking to get this here system replaced. It actually helps us treat the effluent that we are discharging back to the creeks and to the Cahaba more efficiently, and we'll still be within our ADM permit requirements there. We did some initial engineering evaluation already and some pre-design work in this fiscal year here, so this act right here will cover just the design of it and also the construction and inspection services of it. The next one would be in Inverness at the treatment plant, which is our sand filter, or what we call our backwash system. Currently, this system here is the last component before we actually start discharging out to the pond or to the river. This project would include us replacing the media that's currently there. That's the porous plates, the sand, and the anthracite that we utilize to help filter out and clean the final process of the treatment of the effluent before it's actually discharged. We've actually been in contact with Veolia about this here project, so we already kind of got the specs. They feel like they can come in and replace all the media and get everything up and function and get that system back online with this project here. The next project will be I broke it down into phases. It's our control panels at the pump stations. Like I said, with constant innovations in technology, our control panels that controls the functions of the pumps to keep them functioning and pumping, our parts are becoming obsolete. They're coming into life. So it's hard for us to get those components. I feel like our maintenance team, Clearwater Solution, has done a great job of trying to patch what they can patch and find parts where they can. But right now we up against the gun. So with this project here, what we're working with Revere Control Systems, they'll create they're creating a design for us to go in here and upgrade those panels at those facilities. We're starting off with those that are at the worst conditions, and we're going to gradually move into a different phase 2, for those remaining on both basins there. What the control panel does is it helps function with the pumps, helps keep down with run times, to make sure that those pumps are functioning fine, so that we can get the extent in the life out of that equipment. The next X is the blower room at the River Chase Inverness plant. This building here it's been replaced, I think, almost 15 years ago. Due to gases in the element, the building is deteriorating. So this project right here will replace the roof on the existing structure there. I actually been talking with a builder who thinks that they can put a metal structure around there and vent it a little bit better than what it is, to keep us from having to keep replacing this here unit over and over again. We do have some key components in this here structure that we're trying to keep safe. So with this here project of $200,000, it will get us to replace that building and keep that building functioning and those parts working. The next one is I&I study, or what we call inflow infiltration study. The last study was done in 2008. I think my predecessor spent about $2 million or so replacing lines, lining manholes throughout the basins of River Chase and Inverness. This is key to the collection system, is because of groundwater infiltrating system, our pumps are being utilized more than what they should be. So what this here right here will just what this study would do is find out where our trophy problems are and create a migration plan to help mitigate the issues there, which will extend the life of those pumps and actually keep our lines and our infrastructure intact, keeping sewage from flowing into the ground. The last project on the list is also in the Inverness wastewater treatment plants, drying beds. What's happening now is that when they built these here, our sludge basins, the plumbing was built above ground. So the gases and the elements is pretty much corroding those materials, and it's hard now for us to keep those gate valves opening and closing. So what this project right here would do is get a contractor to come out there, redesign, and get that plumbing into the ground and allow us to be able to use those and function properly.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'll just ask one, but thank you for that. Is Clearwater, do they suggest the designer of this work, or did it perform the basis of design, I guess?
No, it's kind of done here in-house, so once they give us what the need is, then we'll reach out to other consultants and work with other engineering firms to do their work.
Okay, and last thing, do we bill out like a 5-year, 10-year plan based upon risk, and is not currently?
Well, due to funding, we haven't. That's something that we've talked about doing, because I think the last time it was done was actually prior to me, and it is dated. And some of the items we have knocked off the list, and some of them we have not. And that is something I want to do, but due to the lack of funding, we don't have that plan set there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
You've got all of these characterized as immediate need, and as you mentioned, we just spent the $6 million, or authorized spending the $6 million on immediate needs. If you had to prioritize among these, have you got a system of prioritization for these?
Yes, ma'am. So actually, if you look at the top of the list here, I kind of got them prioritized as what's most important now, and then the least important is kind of toward the end of it.
Okay,
So,
so it's in descending order?
Yes, ma'am, in descending order.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Okay, last up is the rec center, park maintenance, Matt.
Good afternoon. We may be last, but I think you saved the best for last. And we're ahead of schedule, so yay for that. We won't keep you here for our allotted time, hopefully. But good afternoon. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, we want to thank you for your continued support over the past couple of years. We've been able to complete numerous projects that have made a great impact on our community and on our facilities. So thank you for that. And I did want to recognize Lynn Cummings, our Park Board President. She came to join this exciting time and hear what our presentation was about. So before we start, I wanted to make sure you knew the scope of our department. We encompass a lot of different things within the city. So as you're considering our request, keep in mind that we have 33 parks citywide, Aldridge Gardens, Hoover Randle Home and Gardens, the Recreation Center, which actually has 7,000 active members, the Hoover Senior Center that has 1,800 active members, and our Hoover Therapeutics program. As far as our community programs, that includes currently 1,300 adult athletic participants, 5,700 youth athletic participants, our Miss Hoover program, our annual events that includes SEC baseball tournament, Christmas decorating, and also oversight of the beautification board. So within that, we have close collaboration with a variety of entities, including Hoover Met Complex. Shannon Ely will speak to you all shortly. Our Park Maintenance Department, Aldridge Gardens Board, our Youth Sports Council that includes all of the youth athletic facilities, and our Hoover Parks and Recreation Foundation. Another little tidbit is our community reach within our facilities. This past year has been around 3 million visitors to our parks, and those top facilities were the Hoover Met Complex, Veterans Park, Hoover East, and Hoover Central. So your investment in Parks and Recreation definitely matters to enhance the quality of life, the health, and community pride within the city. And our facilities and events attract tournaments and bring tourism and economic activity here. So we've accomplished a lot recently, but we're excited about what we will accomplish in the future. So as far as our operating requests, we'll go through the different accounts. So with Aldridge Gardens, we've got about a 10% increase for $15,880 that is basically for supplies, cleaning, security, and temporary employment. For the beautification board, we have no new request for Christmas decorating or events. For our Park and Recreation 112 accounts, we have less than an 8% increase of $21,300 that we're requesting an ad for quarterly deep cleaning of the park restrooms. We found that hasn't been being done and that it's significant to add that if that's approved. Also increasing our fitness instructor account as well as a little bit of travel. On our 114 Park and Recreation accounts, less than 8% increase there for $26,405, which includes our instructors, uniforms, supplies, and officials. That's around our athletic programming and then our archery program as well. Hoover Randle Home and Gardens, a 10% increase there, $9,567. That again is similar to Aldridge Gardens with temporary employment, cleaning, and supplies. No new requests for our SEC account or our senior center accounts. We do have a 3% CPI increase as it pertains to the contract with SFM, which is $10,896. If you flip through your binder that we gave you, it details out what those increases are line by line. Going on to one-time operating. These projects span 8 key facilities and focus on maintenance, modernization, safety, and community experience. And I'll have some pictures at the back. Don't look ahead quite yet. But with the rec center, a total of $146,250, which would include painting our second floor and locker rooms. So we've been able to do a lot of upgrades at the rec center in recent years. So with this painting, adding 4 Stairmasters, upgrading our pool deck surface, and remodeling our therapeutics room, that will really take care of a lot of the things that need to make sure it's a great experience for our members. For Hoover Central, we've got a total of $2,500. The big new thing that's a request from the sports associations is converting the scoreboards to wireless controls. So at Hoover Central, that would be $2,500. And then moving on to the Hoover Met Stadium, we were able to complete our large project there this past spring. But with that, we need to outfit the third base club with AV needs, so we can rent that out and have everything we need for presentations and hosting events there. That's $34,100. And then we found when we added the deck and the outfield that all the patrons and children have access to our maintenance area. So our staff requests adding fence there for $16,000. One of the big requests we get a lot of the time is for extra shade in our parks, and this is certainly true for our Explorer Playground. So right now, there's some areas that are mulched and have some trees that attract bees and different things that are a nuisance to the patrons. So we are requesting $81,000 to remove those mulch areas, add seating and shade sails to that space. Also, we've had some public indicate their concerns at the Explorer Playground for the clubhouse space that we have. There's an open window, if you will. One has a grid on it. The other one's open for older kids to climb in and out. And we are asking for $16,000 to add the grid to the open window as a safety concern. At Sertoma Park, the tennis court needs to be resurfaced and the fence upgraded for $40,000. Again, another request for the wireless controllers for the scoreboards at Shades Mountain. There's more scoreboards there, so more funding needed for over $10,000. We've got our nice Veterans Plaza at Veterans Park, but that needs to be reworked and refurbished from a grading standpoint, and some of the bricks need to be replaced. So that would be $28,000. And then just some general painting around the senior center for $14,000. Again, you've got the detailed list on the back sheet if you'd like to look at that. And then with our capital request, so when we go through our budgeting process, we collaborate with many different organizations that we work with, including the Youth Sports Council. Those are the ones that are at the parks and handle all of the youth programming. Of course, our staff, our park board, and our park maintenance staff. So lots of people to work with us on this budget request. So together, we've identified critical improvements across existing parks and facilities in line with the Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan. And this has emphasized maintaining and enhancing our current assets. So although we've got a long list of requests, these were determined to be the priorities. And when you look in your big binder that Finance gave you, it'll say priority. And if it doesn't say priority, it's still a need. We just wanted you to be aware of what those needs were. So some of the priorities we determined, we're adding some bleachers for Sports Park East and Shades Mountain for $60,000. Chase Lake, it's got a nice path there that was paved, but it's in desperate need to be widened and repaved for $152,000. Hoover Central would like us to consider covering their new batting cages for $35,000. Again, shade structures and batting cage upgrades at Hoover East for $80,000. Shades Mountain, so the past 2 years, Shades Mountain's received a significant amount of funding, but that was for electrical needs there. So the general moms and dads and people going there haven't seen much real work being done, and they would like to see some upgrades. So, and it is our oldest park in the city. So netting that would add safety to a space where fly balls come over a lot, restroom renovations, scoreboard upgrades, and shade improvements there, which would be over $250,000. Trace Crossings Elementary is where there's lots of youth soccer. Hundreds of kids and families out there on the weekends playing. There are no restroom facilities. They would like us to consider adding a permanent facility there. That estimates $350,000. We've also had public request very popular pickleball courts at Veterans Park. But even though there's a pavilion there, there's not benches right by the courts, which you sometimes have to wait. So they would like those to be added. That's $15,000. At Wildflower, parking and drainage improvements for $45,000. And just as we go through each year, we continue to need drainage improvements throughout the parks. So each year, we continually would like to have around $50,000 to address those issues. As Mr. Yates spoke earlier, the rec center is 33 years old, and there's just things that are still original there that just need to be replaced. That boiler, we are limping along on that. You might go now, work out, want to take a shower. The water might be hot, might be cold. Our vendors have done a great job trying to get the needed parts to keep that maintained, but it definitely is a priority if you'll consider that. And also the elevator, I'm told, is the oldest one in the city, and we've had some issues with it over the past several months. And it's the only way that some people that come there to walk the track can access the track. So if that elevator ever goes out and doesn't function, then there's no access for many people to use the facility. So just keep those things in mind. So again, if you keep flipping through your binder, we've listed out all the requests, and you can see what other things are out there for consideration. We do have a couple of facilities that don't fall into the park board with Aldridge Gardens and Randle House. For Aldridge Gardens, they would like a maintenance shop and storage expansion there for $58,000. And at the Hoover Randle House, I'm not sure if you all have parked in the parking lot and tried to leave. It's a little dangerous area there that the staff feels like that needs to be reconfigured. That would be around $100,000. And again, another list of more things that need to be considered in the future at those two locations. So I mentioned pictures before, so you all can't get out and see all of our parks and spaces, but you can see if you flip through here with me, the where bleachers would be located. You can see the Chase Lake path that needs to be repaved, covering the batting cages at Hoover Central. Just a wide variety of things that hopefully paint a good picture of what is needed. Shannon will go over a couple of these things in his Hoover Met presentation. Here you see with the Explore Playground, you can see the mulch and where the new seating and shade sails would go. Also, this is what I was talking about, the Explore window that's opening. You can see them climbing up here, but the other grid on the other window. Drainage, you can see some of the pictures there. And then with the rec center, this pool deck is clean. It just doesn't look like it. So those, you can see the rest of the photos. I won't go through all of them with you, but hopefully that gives you an idea of why we're requesting some of the things we're requesting. I will mention just, I had one small HR position request. It was just an upgrade from an administrative assistant senior to an administrative services specialist. And the thought there, it is an open position right now. I was waiting to see if I could get it upgraded before I hired the person into it. The thought is to help with project coordination and some high-level administrative tasks. With all these requests that we have, there's a lot to keep organized with tasks and timelines and things of that nature. So hopefully you will consider that. And then with our fleet request, one of the main items that's been requested the past couple of years, we've got a really old van that transports our therapeutics participants, and they go on field trips, they go to lunch. They're out of the building all day, every day. So that's something that needs to be considered sooner than later as well. So that's all I have.
Any
Thank you for
questions for Ms.
considering.
Koval? Thank you.
And Shannon's going to go over specific to Hoover Met Complex.
All right, well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Hoover Met Complex as it relates to our facility. You know, one of the largest challenges that we have is trying to keep 150 acres of space and facilities clean, litter-free, restrooms stocked and cleaned. And so one of the things in talking to city leadership, what we thought might be a good plan is that the Hoover Met Complex, our staff take over all responsibilities for all cleaning. That would be daily, during event, post-event, full facility cleans. Take over responsibility for all of that out at our facility. Since we're on site, we know what the priorities are. Historically, the daily cleaning has been under the city of Hoover. And so from a supervision and accountability standpoint, it's just not been great. So from an annual operating budget, we're not really asking for any new funds. We're simply asking for existing money in the Parks and Rec budget to be transferred over to the Hoover Met Complex. And then we would complete a bid process with a third party to handle all cleaning out there. As it relates to our one-time requests outside of operating expenses, we've got some items here that is maintenance related that has not been completed over the years, renovation for keeping our facility state of the art, and then some equipment for revenue generation. I've listed these in priority order. Resealing of the Finley Center courts is our top priority. This maintenance has not been completed in more than 4 years. It is recommended by the manufacturer of the floor that that be done every year, every 2 years at the most. If that is not completed, what's going to happen is we're going to end up not having to only reseal it, but resurface it and grind it down, which is going to be a lot more costly. Then we have several projects here. While we did do the $25 million renovation out to the Hoover Met Stadium, to the cosmetic areas, public facing, there are some things that I think are needed in investments for infrastructure back of the house to continue to serve that facility out there. So there needs to be some renovation work to the bullpens. We would like to upgrade the ticket office. The outfield wall is made of wood. That's starting to rot and is starting to really not be in very good shape. And the SEC hangs banners on that every single year, so it's becoming less and less sturdy. By far and away, the baseball facility out there, the turf fields get the most use. We've got Perfect Game who's using it 32 weekends out of the year. So we're going through temporary mounds, and those just aren't, life on that is probably 3 or 4 years. And so we're asking for 3 new mounds, which will help our revenue generation for Perfect Game, Hoover High School, Spain Park High School tournaments that we have out there. Again, it's just a wear and tear thing, quite honestly. Then we've got some preventative maintenance now that the Finley Center is 8 years old. Our basketball goals, volleyball nets, curtains, we're starting to get some of the motors going out on those things, so we're not able to lift and raise and take down. And so if, one of those goes down during an event, we're really kind of up a creek. And so that's just something that we want to make sure, just routine maintenance that we're taking care of. Met Stadium walk-in cooler. I think that equipment's been out there 15, 20, 30 years. And so, it's an outside walk-in cooler. During the SEC baseball tournament, when you're dealing with 100-degree weather, it's hard. It's not staying cool. And so when we're trying to serve drinks and stuff like that from the concession stands where we're generating about $400,000 in revenue, that's probably a piece of equipment that we need to strategically think about upgrading. Electronic digital boards for traffic directions. There's a lot of times where we'll have stuff going on at the stadium, at the Finley Center, at the baseball fields, at the soccer complex. The Hoover Police Department have graciously allowed us to use some of those electronic boards when available, but they haven't always been available. And so that is just a great service for wayfinding and stuff like that, if you ask us to be able to help move traffic around our complex. So that just kind of rounds out the majority. Like I said, again, in priority order, there were 2 projects that were listed in other departments that I wanted to just point out as, I think, critically important to the Hoover Met Complex. The first was, I believe, in Charles Yates Building Maintenance, the RV pedestals for the RV park. It's about $95,000. Our RV park right now is generating over $1.1 million. Starting to get a little tired, the hookups, fuses, stuff like that. And so, again, I think that would be a great return on investment if we look at replacing those pedestals out there. And then the other that Aaron just mentioned, we've got that new club space, and we would like to use that, rent that out to groups, generate some revenue, and to do that, we're going to need some audio, visual, tables, chairs, stuff like that to be able to furnish it to use that to its maximum ability. And then really our largest capital project, something that I, again, just wanted to put on your radar. Again, we fixed up the stadium and everything like that, but now this field's been like that for quite a while. We're having, drainage issues and, the test for the soil and the gravel and all that stuff underneath it, is gonna need repaired sooner or later. And we're looking at, about $1.7 million for that renovation. And then the other 2 projects really that I'm not requesting right now, but again, just for educational purposes, now that our facility is starting to get to 8, 9 years old, the Finley Center floor, we've got a permanent wood floor in there. The substructure's not that great, and so that's gonna need to be replaced sooner than later, and that's gonna be a major capital expense. And then, we're also keeping an eye on the life of the turf out there, but in the next 3 to 5 years, again, that's going to be something that's going to have to be replaced. And so, again, just from a planning and strategic standpoint, I wanted to point that out. Really depends on the turf replacement. The flooring in Finley Center is going to be probably 1.1, 1.2 million. And then The turf, I think that there's ways to do it, and we discussed this in the Hoover Met Complex Advisory Committee meeting, where majority of the use is on the infields, and so we might not have to replace the entire turf, but maybe just the infields, and so we'd probably be looking at about probably $500,000 a field. So again, it's a matter of when, not if.
Mr. Ely, how long would you give the life expectancy on the hardwood floor replacement?
Well, we're doing everything we can right now. We've got weight restrictions, and so we're not putting big telescopic bleachers. We're not doing car shows, boat shows, any of that kind of stuff. So, I think resealing it will help cosmetically. I think it's kind of a Band-Aid approach, but I think, probably something we've got to figure out in the next 3 to 5 years.
Just a thought, maybe just start each year setting aside money so it doesn't hit us all at once. So it's one
But
approach.
I think that's the biggest thing. Some of these are going to be some pretty big ticket items, and so I think it's my responsibility just to educate what's coming down the road. And so how do we prepare for that?
The RV park, I know a lot of people travel with their pets and so forth. Is there space out there for their pets to get off leash at all?
Yeah, we talked about this in the advisory committee as well. The RV park obviously is a great success story. There's more and more competition, and so we've got to look at modern amenities to keep pace. And so whether that is a dog park, whether that is some kind of building that people can go into, register, take showers, whatever the case may be, I think that that's something that we need to strategically look at. And so there is the space that used to be the old storage area right across from the RV park that right now is sitting vacant. It's just gravelled. So I think that there are opportunities to expand, if that would be the priority of
Something to keep in mind.
the city and council.
Any other questions for Mr. Ely? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all? With that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Oh. I'm sorry, Ms. Cornett, you had something additional?
Hey, before I forget, everybody, heads up to Jennifer Cornett's team and Claire and all them for doing all the hard work to make this happen, because it didn't happen overnight. So thank you to you and your team for doing that. We appreciate it very much. Great job.